I really, I don't. And I wish I could say what the family secret is. I can't, because that's spoiling like the whole thing. And then you're not even going to want to read it. Read it. What up, everybody? It's your girl Sherry's Joy with another episode of Bookmarked. I am an avid reader. As I say every episode, I love to read. In this case, I listened. This week's book is this week's book is Great Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, narrated by Julia Whelan. I have my cheat book, my lovely doubly journal book, which I love. Shout out to Elevated Lifestyles. Okay, so to be fair, I did read this book. I started it earlier in the summer, and I was like, oh my goodness, I had to put it down. This was one of the books that I had to stop reading. I think I got maybe 25% in, and I was like, I'm awake. But then, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, I guess. I don't know. Let me stop. Okay, so I did read it, and then I was like, I have to start reading it. It was like so super boring. Like the now part of the book, the present day part was wonderful. I liked it. But then we had like the flashbacks. I know, me, I didn't like the flashbacks. Oof. The flashbacks were boring, and I was like, what is happening? So unfortunately, I did put the literal book down, and I moved onward through the fog with other things. But then I actually didn't realize that I had the audiobook on hold, and it became available a couple of days ago. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's bring this book back and let's see what's going on with the audio. So I restarted it, listening to the audio, boom, narrated by, as I said, Julia Whelan. And I was so entertained. I was so entertained by it that I actually looked up the narrator to see like what other books what other audiobooks she's narrated, and there's a ton. So I mean, I know I said like a few episodes ago that I like audiobooks were a big snooze fest for me, and it's just, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if it's the books, if it's like 2025 and not 1990s anymore or what, but I am like completely entertained by these books that I've been listening to, and it definitely helps to listen and read it at the same time. In this case, I just listened to it. It's 12 hours long, and I split it in 2 days. Last night, I was so determined to stay up until like 3 or 4 a.m. to just like outright finish it in a day. But I kind of like fell asleep at 12. So at midnight, actually a little bit after midnight, but anyway, that doesn't matter. Okay. So what is this book about? Let me tell you, this book is actually really good. Listening to it, to me, this is my opinion. Listening to it made it way more entertaining than actually reading it. And I don't know if it's because this is in my genre, what I label this as is a comedic romance, I guess. And so because of the comedy aspect of it, it was way more entertaining to hear those jokes and to hear, the influctuations of the voice and the sarcasm and the funniness versus reading it. Because I'm reading it and like what I'm thinking, and it's not the same as being entertained by like someone reading it to you, a voice actor per se. So you could say, if you could say, I guess you could say voice actor. Yes. Okay. So what is this crazy book about? Great Beautiful Life is a double love story. So beautiful. And, again, romance. Again, like I am not the romance person, but lately it's been about romancing. So whatever. All right, so the book it takes place in Georgia, and we meet Alice and Hayden. Alice she's from Georgia, but she lives in LA. Hayden is from New York, and he lives in New York. They both come to Georgia they're journalists, and they come to Georgia to interview Margaret Ives, who is of note. She's kind of like famous, right? I don't want to spoil it. So she's famous, and they want to interview her and hear her story about her life and her family and how she became famous and all of these things. And so she wants to write a memoir, her book, her autobiography, but she only wants to write it with someone she trusts. So Alice has been like contacting and hounding Margaret, because she's kind of in hiding. Margaret is. She just disappeared off the face of the earth and was like, well, where is she? So Alice kind of like found her, and and then she's like wanting to interview her and write her story. And then Hayden was actually brought in to write the story. However, Margaret doesn't know between the two of them who she trusts more and who to write her memoir. So she gives them like a trial run for a couple of weeks. She gives them a stipend and pays for their living and all of that in the area, while she gives them this trial run by hire, until she hires whichever one she chooses to hire. So she tells her story, and we're listening to her tell her story, but we're only listening to it through Alice's not her eyes, not her ears, but through Alice's journalism, I guess. So she starts off like way in the past, and then she goes all the way up until today. And that story is being weaved through with what's going on in the present day with Alice and Hayden. Like they're not enemies or anything like that. Like Alice is pretty, like, she goes all fangirl, because Hayden, he's won like a Pulitzer Prize, and he's like this big well-known journalist, and so she's all fangirl, and it goes somewhere, and they become frenemies, I guess. And then, they just kind of like build their relationship. And it almost like, I want to say it's almost like that sitcom cliche. Like I think of like Who's the Boss? And, where you got Tony Danza's character and Judith Light's character, and they go through the whole entire series in love with one another, but they don't admit it until like the end, and then like the last episode or the last season of all of the series, they finally get together, that type of thing. And I took it way back with Who's the Boss, but I don't watch sitcoms, and that's like the one that just stood out the most. So, hey, whatever. So it was like one of them type of situations to me. They their little romance and everything like that. So within that, we learn about Alice and her, relationship that she has with her family and her mother, and like where that is and why. And she's kind of like standoffish, doesn't want to talk about it. And then Hayden, we learn about his family and, what I don't want to say what he stems from, but like what kind of background he has. And we kind of like see the two of them bonding and just kind of like budding this romance, which is not a spoiler. I mean, it's, and then, Margaret, we're listening to her tell her story, and where we find out about her love life and what that, her relationship with her family and her love life and how that budded and grew. And then, all stories have like twists and turns and things like that. And there's like these twists and these turns, and there's good times and bad times and all of these things. And so it was quite entertaining to listen to the audio, in my opinion. I I gotta say, I really am. I am enjoying the audiobook. I don't know, it's interesting. It's very interesting, and like I said, it does keep me entertained. I wanted more, 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 more. So the book is actually, I think the book was like 300 and something pages, and you know, it. I'm sorry, it was like 300 and something pages. It's on. It doesn't even matter. It's on Reese Witherspoon's like book club thing, but I'm not a Reese Witherspoon person, so that doesn't matter, but it is. And what I loved about the book was that it had just enough spice in it, like romance. It had just enough romance for me to tolerate. And the end, it had just enough tearjerker for me to enjoy it as well, like heartfelt. And then I also liked the relationships that we were learning about in the book, and what we were, able to grab and grasp, from that, and how we went from like this way to this way and that way and in between. So I liked learning about the characters and their background stories and their relationships with other people. I really enjoyed that. And then there's like this actual chapter at the end of the book where Alice and all of her like best friends that she has, like a group of friends, they come visit her, and they're like, oh yeah, we're your best friends and we're always going to be here for you, and da 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 da. And it's like, oh, I want friends like that. Or they were just like friends throughout the whole thing, and they are always there for her. And I have friends like that. I'm just saying, like, that was like really sweet for them to like be there for her, and they just went to her and showed up out of the nowhere and to just hang out. So that was pretty cool. They hadn't seen her in a while because she's been in Georgia interviewing Miss Ives. So I liked the relationships in this book. A little bit on the drama side, So what I didn't like about this book is, and this irritated me as well while I was reading it, it's this thing where I'm just gonna just like make stuff up. This wasn't in the book, but it was like, I'm having a conversation with somebody, right? And so I'm reading, and the dialogue is something like this. He looked at me and I looked at him, and then I said, hi. And he said, hey, what are you doing today? He said, I'm not doing anything. I said, what do you mean you're not doing anything? He said, I just told you what I was doing. I said, and yada, yada, yada. He said, I'm like, okay. We know there's a conversation going on. I don't need, she said, he said, I said, we said, he said, did said, I said, you said. We don't need that. I don't need that. That irritated me while I was reading it. It irritated me while I was listening to it. And I think the narrator, though, pulled it off. Like, you got the mood or the emotion of what was happening during those conversations, I guess. But it still, I felt like, was like completely unnecessary. It was annoying. I didn't like Margaret's backstory because some of it was boring. Now, I did say that I liked the relationships and learning the different relationships and things like that, but the backstory stuff was a little boring. Like I said, like, that's what made me stop actually reading the physical book. Now, Miss Whelan did keep me entertained in the audio version of it, but it was still boring. Like, I did find myself like zoning out a little bit, and I had to like rewind, like, wait, what just happened, type of thing, because it was just like, I don't know, it was boring. And then when we got to like the meat of it all, then that's when I perked up. I was like, oh, this took a turn. This is pretty, oh man, okay. So it took a while to get there, but that whole thing I felt like could have been different. And the cliche family secrets. Okay. Now, I want to say every family has secrets or skeletons in the closet. but I don't know if that's true. So I can't really say that, but I will say on anything entertaining wise, movies, TV shows, books, even some music, or poems and stuff, there's always some sort of secret in a family, whether it's, good or bad or for the better. There's always a family secret, and I just think that is such a cliche. So I didn't like that. But then I guess that's like the big reveal right at the end of the book, the big twist of it. So I don't know. Family secrets, man. Nothing good comes of them. I don't, and I wish I could say what the family secret is. I can't, because that's spoiling like the whole thing, and then you're not even going to want to read it. Read it. So actually listen to it. If you just listen to the audiobook, it's 12 hours. Listen to it. It's pretty good. It's very funny, and it kept me entertained. So it's pretty good. What I rate out of this whole book, I actually rate this as a 4, and that is because of a few things. One, like I said, I put the actual book down and then I rose it back up with the audio, and that wasn't even on purpose. Like, I had completely forgot that I had the audio on hold as well as the actual book. I guess the book, came off hold from the library. Support your local library. Let's all go to the library. So I had them both reserved at the same time on hold, and the book came first, and then I forgot about the audio. So it wasn't on purpose. So that's one, that's part of it. 2, a 4, because just like I said, like some of the I said, you said, he said, we said, I said, you said, we said, yay! Like, that is annoying. So it was that, and just some of the cliches. And just the fact that it's like a romance, comedic romance, whatever. That's not my genre. I'm kind of like, you would think that it is, because the last few books that I've read have been like drama or romance, but I am kind of just like, can we get to like MDK, please? Like, come on, it's October. This is like my thriller month. What's happening here? Which is not the author's fault. Right? It's just my preference and what I prefer. As far as the actual writing, other than, what I've already said, irritated me, the writing itself was fine. Like, I didn't have an issue with the actual writing. Like, I was able to see myself, not true. I didn't see myself in the pages, but I saw the characters. So it wasn't like super descriptive. It was descriptive just enough to whereas I can visualize what I visualize. And I, was able to keep up with all of that. I could see the little town they were in. They were on like, I feel like it was like the coast. They called it at one point an island, off of the coast of Georgia, which I don't know, because we didn't really, it wasn't really talked about, like how they got there. Like, is it really an island? Is it a peninsula? Like, did you take a ferry to get there? Like, I don't know of places like that in Georgia, but I'm not from there. And also we didn't learn about that in the book, right? So there's this hurricane that comes, and that's what they're talking about, like the islands, like they call it the island, the little island. So I could see it, right? I could see it. I've been through hurricanes. I've been on the East Coast. I've always lived right on the coast of the ocean, of the Atlantic, and I know hurricanes, man. So it was not hard to see. It was not hard to be in that, like, happening. As far as like any conversations or like intimacy, like love, romance conversations and things like that, like I was there. At one point I was like, ooh, yeah. So it was good. That was really good. It kept me entertained. So yes to all of that. So I do recommend this book. If you would rather read it, that's fine. For me, it was the audio was much more entertaining. I would really check out the audiobook if you can. It was amazing. You can rent it or borrow it from your local library. I love, love, love the Libby app. That's where I was able to borrow this from. I highly recommend getting the Libby app. If you have not gotten it, look into it. Libby. You can link your library card right with the app, and you can rent audiobooks and ebooks. It's really cool. I highly recommend that. Support your local library. All right. So again, I appreciate all of you. I am Sherry's Joy. Thank you so much for your support and for my watching, my videos and my, reviews and all that. And sharing my reviews. I really appreciate you. You can find me on Instagram at BookMarkedSJ. I am right here on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe at BookMarkedSJ. You can find me on Blue Sky at Sherry's Joy. I am part of the DigiKast. And you can find DigiKast on Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube at the DigiKast. And if you've already read this book, or if you want to know more, you want to talk to me, leave me something in the comments. Let me know, hey, I read this book, I've listened to this book, I really like this book, I hated this book, whatever it is, let me know. Hit me up in the comments, leave me a comment, drop me a line. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if you have any suggestions or comments about anything. Hit me up. This is book 44 out of 52 for me. It is only October. I am super excited. I really feel like I'm going to exceed my goal of 52, and I cannot wait to do my year-end review and to make my goal for next year. I'm going to incorporate my audiobooks in here because I'm starting to really enjoy them. So if you have any suggestions on anything of the sort, please hit me up in the comments. Until then, love the world.